big thanks to EA for sponsoring this video.
EA Sports, it's in the game.
As some of you may have seen, the official F122 channel posted a video with Daniel Ricciardo on Tuesday, in which Daniel was challenged to set a time around the Circuit of the Americas in F122. He set a time of 1:33.519 while also giving some tips on how to drive the track. We, as part of the EA Creator Network, were then tasked with beating that time. Here's how it went. So initially, as you can see, my first issue in this game is traction and trying to get the power down out of corners. You can see just how much I'm struggling with that. That does come to me a little bit later on, realizing I have to shift up just that little bit earlier, but for these early runs it really did hamper me trying to come out of the slow corners especially. The other thing I was really struggling with is this S section at the start of the lap. It's surprisingly tricky to get right, and as time goes on you'll see my lines start to get a little bit better, but for these early runs it was very messy, even selecting the wrong gear at one point then. And then the corner that was my Achilles heel, right here. I could make a montage of how many times I spun out at that particular corner and fill an entire video. My next lap, as you'll see, was a lot better and a lot cleaner, and I didn't spin or crash out or do anything bad. It was actually my best run I managed to put in before knowing what the time that Daniel had set was. But as you can see, I'm still missing apexes. I'm still struggling an awful lot with getting the car where I want it to go. At this point I am running a custom setup that I got from someone I know on the leaderboards. I used their setup on the time trial leaderboards, and I was starting to get to grips with it, but you can see I'm still a little bit all over the place through the S's. I do manage to make it through this corner, which, oh, it got me so many times, but I managed to get through there cleanly, and I was making up good time on what was my previous best, which was a 35 something. So I was now 3/10 up going through the hairpin here and making time hand over fist. I did lose a little bit on the exit, not quite able to get as clean a getaway as I had done before, but nonetheless it was still looking reasonably good. Making a way down into the final sector of the track, which is to me the most tricky part. Even after loads of practice trying lots of different things, after I was getting more and more comfortable with the S's to start the lap, I was still really struggling with these slow speed corners, just trying to get the car slowed down and then getting back out of them again, struggling with that traction. But making it into the final part of the lap, I thought my line here was actually looking pretty nice. Going through there, shifting up at the right time, down a couple of gears through this left-hander at the penultimate corner, almost losing the back end, into the final corner, down into second, and then early on the power through third, DRS wide open and across the line in a 1:34. This, as I say, was my fastest lap I managed to do, and didn't stop me trying to get more practice in though. When we finally did know the time that we had to beat, I was a lot closer to it than I was actually expecting to be, but I knew there was still a lot of work to do. I still had around a second a lap to find, so I hopped back in game and gave it another go. After a lot of time lapping the Circuit of the Americas and spinning out in the process, I finally got my best lap time in, and here it is in all its glory. For those wondering, the assists I used were ABS on, traction control medium, manual with suggested gears, and the corners only racing line. Now I know Daniel likely went out there with none on at all, but that's why he's a top driver, and I just commentate. Now I'm sure I could have gotten a sub 1:34 lap time, however it would have taken me far more time than I had available, and a couple of laps after this lap was set my wheel actually broke, meaning I couldn't even if I wanted to. However, if you want to go and see for yourself how you can do against Daniel's time and take part in the hashtag Ricciardo challenge, F122 is free this weekend for the US Grand Prix on Xbox, PlayStation and Steam. Thank you once again to EA for sponsoring this video, thank you for watching, and remember, drive safe.